So this renourishment project has been, as you'll hear, just an incredible effort of different organizations, as many as 10, as many as, if you, the question then becomes like, when did this actually start? Decades ago, as people saw the beach eroding here. And what you're seeing behind me was pretty much the original shoreline. And I actually did a triathlon on this beach, and we had to run through what they were talking about, that little pass there, we'll come up on it in just a minute, that cut through the mangroves and the shrubs, and that was the only way you could get from, at least beachside, from the northern part of the island, Lido Key, to the southern part. And it was pretty challenging, even if you weren't doing a triathlon. So now this beach looks just about as wide as Siesta Key, and as the officials say, this is definitely going to give Siesta Key a run for its money. But with the way everybody wants to live in Florida, I don't think there's going to be too much of a challenge here. But I think there's plenty of room for everybody. And on days like today, you understand why so many people want to be here. So as we're walking up on this little pathway through the mangroves, this is where, if you can imagine doing a triathlon here, and we were running on the beach, that was the part of it. You had to crawl through this, and they've cut it out quite a bit. I remember coming through here, and you just had to duck and really watch your head, and you still do, because the surface isn't completely level here. So I'm glad I have my running shoes on here, but you can see that it was a pretty thicky wicket here. And this was where the water line was going, and there were signs up not too long ago saying that with water level rise from global warming, that we were even in more danger of the water level encroaching on the city of Sarasota via Lido Key. So that's how you got through back in the olden days, but now you've got 300 feet of additional beach that allow you to get through.
Davishaw.
We are here with Alex Davishaw, who, by all accounts, seems to be the star of the show here. So everybody was giving you all the credit for seeing this project through. So tell me how it began and what were the most difficult challenges you faced.
Well, it really began when Dennis Daughters was city engineer, and we'd had a few storms come through, and I think really what brought up the main concern is back, I want to say, in 1996, 97, when Tropical Storm Josephine came through, and actually we had so much erosion that Ben Franklin Drive was out of commission, and so they had to put sandbags there and try to preserve the roadway and get that rebuilt, that he realized that we really needed a long-range plan so that we weren't just trying to repair after a storm, but we had a plan long-term to keep us from having that kind of damage. So he started the process of getting the beach evaluated to see whether it was critically eroded, whether it would be meet the requirements for a federal project, and really started laying all the groundwork for that project. And then through years of his effort, and then when he retired, I took it over, continuing on with, then getting it designed, getting it funded and constructed. So it really started, in the 1990s.
Unbelievable. And from some of the time-lapse videos, I mean, you had some of these buildings that were like almost in the water, right?
That's right. Actually, down to the south, there's a couple of buildings where the waves were lapping up against the seawall, and there have been times where waves would splash into some of the first-floor apartments. So it was right there.
So kudos to you and your team for doing all this.
Thank you very much.
Anything else you want to add or say as you look kind of on all these years of hard work?
Well, I think it's important. One of the concerns had been that we would just do a renourishment project where we put sand in and then it would erode away. Well, this project also includes what they call the terminal groins to help lock the sand in, and they're on the south end of the project. So that should help slow the rate of erosion, so the sand we put here should last longer. And then with the partnership with the Army Corps, they'll keep an eye on the project, and then after a certain amount of erosion takes place, we'll come back and redo the project. So we should always have protection along the shoreline here.
And unlike some other forgive the lack of the word, renourishment projects I've seen. The quality of the sand here seems to be matching the sand that was existing here. How were you able to do that?
Right, so we've used sand in the past historically from new pass, but this time from big pass, and both of the passes get filled in with the beach sand as it erodes off. So it's really, in large part, using some of the same beach quality sand that had left the beach and putting it back on the beach.
And no negative impacts based on what you've done, right?
So part of the permit is to monitor that, and we just finished the project. So all the modeling shows that there should be no long-term impacts, but they want to verify, and so they will continue to do monitoring and take shots of the area to make sure that that is correct.
All right, thank you for your time. So we're talking again with the Corps of Engineers and their role in this project, all right?
Yeah, as the federal sponsor. So I think a neat thing just to understand, so when it comes to any of our civil works project, it's a federal and non-federal sponsor, and it's a 50-50 partnership when it comes to funding, and then typically that upkeep and operational maintenance is all on the non-federal sponsor. So it's just something to remember as you keep donating, keep putting out that tax dollars to maintain this beautiful beach. When it comes to sea level rise and climate change, the modelers, you could say could be some grim predictions, and we can definitely lessen those. I say right now from the federal side, know that we are planning for at least out to 2060 and beyond. We are modeling the modelers the worst case scenario, if you will, so upwards of 2 to 3 feet level sea rise. But again, not a modeler. I can't predict the future, but we're doing our best at least to prepare and save all of our infrastructure as best as possible.
And as far as the environmental impact of doing this, I mean, the channel had to be dredged anyway, right?
To my understanding, yes. I can't say I was here right when it all started, but yes. So the Corps of Engineers, that's one of our number one things to do was navigation and maintenance of locks and any navigational waterway, federal waterways, and which that is. So yes, you had to maintain it. Sand can go somewhere, and what better place to be right here.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, we are wandering around here. Let's see who else we can talk to. We are here with Carl Schafstall, who has been just well, why don't you just tell us what your role has been? It seems like it's just been monumental from what everybody's been saying.
Yes, I'm the president of the Lido Key Residents Association. I've been involved with this project, and I live out here on Lido for the last 20 years, and pretty much spearheaded, along with the city and everybody, getting this renourishment done.
What's been the biggest challenge, would you say?
The legal challenges from Siesta Key, and we finally have gone through the entire thing. It took, like I say, at least 4 years to get through to just the court and everything, with all the rebuttals and all of the appeals and stuff like that, but we are done now officially. So the project started, and what a beautiful beach we have.
Incredible. So just to look back on this, literally behind you, what thoughts go through your mind?
Perseverance, as I said. If we wouldn't have persevered, it wouldn't have got done. And we just kept at it, and eventually we got it.
All right. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. We're here with Paul Robbins, who has had a really crucial part in making this renourishment happen. So tell me, Paul, how did you get involved, when, why?
Well, the Lido Key Residents Association, which is the LKRA, when all this started many years ago, I live on the beach, and it was sort of paramount to have a nice beach. So that's how I became involved, and of course this thing took a lot longer than anybody thought it was ever going to take. But if you said you've been taking some pictures out there, and the end result has been absolutely terrific, and none of us could be happier today.
So what finally got it done, would you say? What was?
Well, basically we had to defend ourselves from Siesta Key, who through legal action was saying that we were not allowed to take sand from Big Pass, which is the pass between us and us and Siesta Key. And so we had to go to court to be able to get permission to do it. So the FDEP, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, they had to sign off on it. The Corps of Engineers, who was here today, they had to sign off on it. And this took many years to accomplish.
How many years?
I think around 10.
Wow. So you must feel really good to see.
We feel really good. And, it's like I look at the beach, and I'm lucky enough that I live on the beach, so I look out my window, and see that we have it, because for those of you who saw what was happening to our beach, where we lost, in our building alone, we lost about 25, 30 feet of dune, which you can't replace. So it was really an emergency situation, and I think the LKRA did a great job, but of course the city was paramount in us getting this done.
And the channel has to be dredged anyway so the boats can get through, right? So that's
Yes.
a big deal in
Yes.
theory.
Yes, and the Siesta wasn't sure, or they were fighting it because they felt that it's never been dredged and it would affect their beach. However, their beach has gotten bigger every year for I don't know how long, and it is huge now.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.